Hey there, aviation enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon. This versatile aircraft has been in service for decades and has played a significant role in military operations around the globe. The F-16 was developed in the 1970s as a lightweight, agile fighter jet that could outmaneuver its Soviet counterparts. Its design is a masterpiece of aerodynamics, with a delta wing and a single engine that allows for rapid acceleration and agility. The F-16 has been produced in various variants, including the F-16A, F-16B, F-16C, F-16D, and F-16E. It has been operated by over 25 countries and has seen action in numerous conflicts, from the Gulf War to the war in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, there have been some notable accidents and incidents involving the F-16, such as the 2014 crash in Israel and the 2019 crash in South Korea. If you're interested in seeing the F-16 up close, there are several aircraft on display around the world, including the National Museum of the United States Air Force in Dayton, Ohio. Now, let's dive into the specifications of the F-16C Block 50 and 52. Which are the most advanced versions of this iconic fighter jet. The Block 50 features a 20mm M61 Vulcan cannon and for AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, while the Block 52 adds two AIM-120 MRAAM missiles. That's all for today's video, folks. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more aviation content. Thanks for watching, and safe flying. To General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon in later years, manufactured and marketed as Lockheed Martin, F-16 has served the United States and the air arms of 25 other nations. Over 4,400 F-16s have been sold. 1. United States. The F-16 is in service with United States Air Force Active, Reserve, and Air National Guard units, and is used by the USAF Aerial Demonstration Team, the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds, and as an aggressor aircraft by the United States Navy. 2. Operation Desert Storm 1991, a F-16C of the Vermont Air National Guard on the hard stand at McChord Day, FB. Washington. Remains of F-16C number 870-57 from the 614th Tactical Fighter Squadron Lucky Devils, shot down over Iraq during Operation Desert Storm. Main article, Operation Desert Storm. In Operation Desert Storm of 1991, 249 USAF F-16s flew 13,340 sorties in strikes against Iraq, the most of any coalition aircraft. Falcons often had M65s up to 6 or 2 Mk-80 for 2,000 pounds bombs, middle underwing pylons, to 1,400 L fuel tanks, 2 AIM-9 and an underbelly CM pod, such as the ALQ-131. F-16 discs from the 388 Tactical Fighter Wing at Hill AFB were used as spotter aircraft to search and find Iraqi SAMs and Republican Guard troops. They were armed with up to 6 Mk-82s, cluster bombs, and LGBS. These aircraft were also equipped with lantern and binoculars. Citation needed. 3 aircraft were lost to confirmed enemy action. 2 enemy radar-guided SA-6 and SA-3 surface-to-air missiles, SAMS-3 for and 1 to a shoulder-launched SA-16 missile. 5 other F-16s were damaged in accidents and by hostile ground fire, but were able to return to base and be repaired. 7 In all, 7 F-16s were lost during Desert Storm combat operations between January 16 and February 28, 8-9-10. F-16s formed the basis of the largest Strike Package 72 aircraft flown during the war. Package Q, a daylight raid against targets in downtown Baghdad It was during the Package Q mission that 2 F-16s from 614th TFS Lucky Devils, part of the 401st TFWP, flying from Doha, Qatar, were lost to SAMs with their pilots Cap Mike Suyo Roberts and Major Tico Tice downed, respectively, by SA-2 and SA-3 becoming POs. 11. This mission also marked the largest single operational F-16 strike package flown to date. 12. F-16s were used also as Wild Weasel shooters with AGN-88 HARM missiles, together with older F-4Gs for 180th TFS, 52nd Wing. 13. There were only 13 F-16s with HARMs, all based at Incirlik Air Base. Together with 12 F-4Gs, Phantoms had the powerful APR-47, and with these systems, they did the more difficult tasks attacking the mobile radar sites. F-16s were only recently fitted with HARMs, and the bulk of USAF seed was still the AF-4G. Another 48 were at Sheikh Issa, Bahrain. F-16s flew escort, Wild Weasel missions escorting them and striking pre-planned targets. The 138th Fighter Squadron 174th TFW, New York AND used 24F. A-16s equipped with a 30mm gun pod, to GPU-5, a pave claw, a 4-barreled derivative of the A-10 Thunderbolt's GAU-8 Avenger, but this proved a failure owing to excess vibration and inadequate gun sights. 1415. Interwar era operations over Iraq 1991 to 2003. Main articles: Northern Watch, Southern Watch, and Operation Desert Fox. From the end of Desert Storm until the invasion of Iraq in 2003, US-8 F-16s patrolled the US-UK imposed no-fly zones in Iraq. Two air-to-air victories were scored by USAF F-16s in Operation Southern Watch, 16. On the 27th of December 1992, a USAF F-160 shot down an Iraqi MiG-25 in the airspace over southern Iraq with an AM-120 ROM. This was the first USAF F-16 kill since the F-16 was introduced, and was also the first MROM kill. 17. On the 17th of January 1993, a USAF F-16C destroyed an Iraqi MiG-23 with an MROM missile for the second USAF F-16 victory. 18. F-16s returned to Iraq in December 1998 as part of the Operation Desert Fox bombing campaign to degrade Iraq's ability to manufacture and use weapons of mass destruction. 19. Balkans 1994 to 1995 and 1999. Main articles: Operation Deny Flight, Operation Deliberative Force, and Operation Allied Force. Tail and canopy of F-16CG in Belgrade Aviation Museum, Serbia. F-16s were also employed by NATO during Bosnian peacekeeping operations in 1994-95 in ground attack missions and enforcing the no-fly zone over Bosnia. Operation Deny Flight. The first incident took place on the 28th of February 1994. For J-1 and to IJ-1 Jastrabs and to J-2 Araus had violated the no-fly zone to conduct a bombing run on Novi Travnik. The pilots of the J-22s spotted the F-16s above them, and, after their attack, they left the area, a low-level flight towards Croatia, where the U.S. jets could not follow. Meanwhile, the rest of the group was engaged and attacked, first by two USAF F-16Cs, which scored 3 kills. The remaining J-21 was destroyed by a different pair of USAF F-16Cs. Of the 6 Yugoslavian jets engaged, 4 were shot down, 1 by MROM and the others by Sidewinders. 2021. On the 2nd of June 1995, one F-16C was shot down by a Serb to K-1 to Kubsem NATO reporting name, SA-6. Gainful while on patrol over Bosnia. Its pilot, Scott O'Grady, ejected and was later rescued by USAMC CH-53C Stallion helicopter on the 8th of June. 22. NATO F-16s also participated in airstrikes against Serbian forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina during Operation Deliberative Force in August-September 1995, and again in Operation Allied Force over the entirety of Yugoslavia from March-June 1999. 23. On the 2nd of May 1999, a USAF F-16CG was shot down over Serbia. It was downed by an S-1-5 Nevasem NATO SA-3 Goa near Nakukani. Its pilot, then Lieutenant Colonel, later General and Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force David Goldfein, 555th Fighter Squadron's commander, managed to eject and was later rescued by a combat search and rescue CSAR mission. 20/25. The remains of this aircraft are on display in the Yugoslav Aeronautical Museum, Belgrade International Airport. On the 4th of May 1999, a lone Yugoslav MiG-29 flown by Lt. Col. Milenko Pavlovic attempted to intercept a large NATO formation that was returning to base after bombing Valjevo, the pilot's hometown. The aircraft was engaged by a pair of USAF F-16CJs from the 78th Fighter Squadron 26 and was shot down with AIM-120, 27 killing the pilot. The falling wreckage was hit by a Strela 2M fired by the Yugoslav Army in air. Operations in Afghanistan 2001 to 2021. Main article: War in Afghanistan 2001 to 2021. F-16s have been used by the United States in Afghanistan since 2001. One USAF F-16 fighter was lost during the operations in Afghanistan. On the 3rd of April 2013, a USAF F-16 crashed near Bagram airfield in eastern Afghanistan's Parwan province, killing its pilot. 28. In 2002, a trinational detachment known as the European Participating Air Forces Danish, Dutch and Norwegian F-18 F-16s in the ground attack role deployed to Manas Air Base in Kyrgyzstan to support Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Manas Air Base was returned to Kyrgyzstan control in 2014. Invasion of Iraq and post-war operations 2003-2024. Main article, 2003 Invasion of Iraq. See also, List of aviation shootdowns and accidents during the Iraq War. US F-16s participated in the 2003 invasion of Iraq, and the only loss suffered over Iraq during this phase was an F-16CG of the 388th Fighter Wings for 121st Fighter Squadron that crashed near Baghdad on the 12th of June 2003, and it ran out of fuel. 29. A U.S. Patriot SAM fire control radar was damaged on the 25th of March 2003 following a hit by an AGM-88 Harn anti-radiation missile fired from an USAF F-16C on a patrol over southern Iraq. When the radar established a lock-on onto the fighter and the F-16RW classified it as AASA to radar. 30. On the 7th of June 2006, two USAF F-16s dropped to 500 pounds to 130 kilograms guided bombs 1 GBU-1 to Paveway LGBN 1 GBU-38 GPS guided smart bomb destroying an Al-Qaeda safe house, killing Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the leader of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. 31. On November 27, 2006, one F-16 was lost near Fallujah during a close air support strafing round when the pilot remained focused on the target instead of pulling up. 32. On the 15th of June 2007, an F-16E crashed and the pilot lost spatial orientation during a night close air support mission. The pilot was killed in the crash. On the 15th of July 2007, another F-16E crashed and burned out during takeoff when a tire blew. The pilot ejected safely. 33. On the 25th of February 2009, a USAF F-16 shot down an Iranian Ababel 3 UAV after it entered in Iraqi airspace. 34. In September 2010, USAF F-16s dropped two bombs providing close air support for an Iraqi army unit that was overwhelmed. This was the first air raid in Iraq since July 2009. 35. USAF F-16s were deployed to Iraq and Syria as part of Operation Inherent Resolve. USAF F-16s, together with F-15E Strike Eagles, helped blunt an Iranian attack against Israel on the 13th of April 2020 by shooting down an unspecified number of Iranian one-way attack UAVs. 36. Libya 2011. USAF F-16s participated in the enforcement of no-fly zone over Libya as part of Operation Odyssey Dawn. Israel. Israeli Air Force F-16A. Nets 107 with 6.5 killing marks of other aircraft and 1 killing mark of Iraqi nuclear reactor, a world record for an F-1637. Bekaa Valley and Asirak Raid 1981. Main articles, Lebanese Civil War and Operation Opera. The F-16's first air-to-air combat success was achieved by the Israeli Air Force IAF over the Bekaa Valley on the 28th of April 1981. Against a Syrian Mi-8 helicopter, which was downed with cannon fire following an unsuccessful attempt with an AIM-9 Sidewinder air-to-air missile AIM-38 several months later. On the 14th of July 1981, the IAF achieved the first F-16 kill of another fighter with a successful AIM shoot-down of a Syrian MiG-21. 39. On the 7th of June 1981, 8 Israeli F-16s, escorted by F-15s, executed Operation Opera, their first employment in a significant air-to-ground operation. This raid severely damaged Asirak, an Iraqi nuclear reactor under construction near Baghdad, to prevent the regime of Saddam Hussein from using the reactor for the creation of nuclear weapons. 40. Operation Peace for Galilee 1982. Main articles, Operation Peace for Galilee and Operation Mole Cricket 19. The following year, during Operation Peace for Galilee Lebanon War, Israeli F-16s engaged Syrian aircraft in one of the largest air battles involving jet aircraft, which began on the 9th of June and continued for 2 more days. Operation Mole Cricket 19. At the end of the conflict, the Israeli Air Force credited their F-16s with 40 for air-to-air kills, mostly of MiG-21s and MiG-23s, while suffering no air-to-air losses of their own. 38-41 F-16s were also used in their ground attack role for strikes against targets in Lebanon. Soviet. Russian sources state the Syrians lost 6 MiG-3MFs, 4 MiG-3MSS, and 14 MiG-3BNS in the Bekaa Valley. Second Lebanon War 2006. Main article. 2006 Lebanon War. Israeli Air Force F-16I with CFTs and dorsal spine. Israeli F-16s, the bomber workhorse of the Israel Defense Forces, participated in the 2006 Lebanon War. The only reported F-16 loss was an IDF F-16I that crashed on the 19th of July, and one of its tires burst as it took off for Lebanon from an air base in the Negev. The pilots ejected safely and there were no casualties on the ground. 42. On the 7th and the 13th of August 2006, Israeli F-16C, serial 364 and F-16D, serial 074, shot down 2 or 3 Hezbollah-operated Ababel T-43 UAVs during the war using Python 5 missiles. 44. Gaza War 2008-2009. Main article. Gaza War 2008-09. Israeli Defense Force F-16s were used in attacks in the Gaza Strip in December 2008. The attacks hit at least 100 security compounds and rocket launching bases and killed at least 225 people, including civilians and 140 members of Hamas security forces. 45. No F-16s were lost. 2009 present. IAF F-16I Safa escorting a new F-35I Deer stealth multirole fighter. The IAF lost one F-16I during a training mission in November 2010 with the loss of its crew. 46. On the 16th of December 2010, an Israeli F-16I shot down an unmanned balloon that had violated restricted airspace over Israel's Negev Nuclear Research Center. It is widely believed that this center is where Israel's arsenal of nuclear weapons is produced. 47. On the 6th of October 2012, an Israeli F-16I, serial 844, shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle over southern Israel using Python 5 missiles, the first one missing the target. 48. On the 25th of April 2013, an Israeli F-16C shot down an unmanned aerial vehicle UAV from Lebanon over the Sea off Haifa, in northern Israel, using the Python 5 missile. 49-50. In September 2016 51 and February 2017 52 IAF F-16 fighters shot down Hamas drones UAVs near the Gaza Strip. During the 2010s, Israeli upgraded all of its Barak 1 F-16C, D and Barak 2 F-16CG, DG fleet to Barak 2020 configuration, an MLU which gives them SUFA-grade avionics. In 2015 the Nets fighters F-16A, B were retired from service, with F-16. Nets 107 being put on display in the Israeli Air Force Museum. On the 10th of February 2018, an Israeli Air Force F-16I was shot down and crashed in northern Israel, and it was hit by a Syrian Air Defense Force S-2O surface-to-air missile. Both pilots ejected and safely landed in Israeli territory. The F-16I was part of a bombing mission against Syrian and Iranian targets around Damascus after an Iranian drone reportedly entered Israeli airspace and was shot down. 53. Gaza War 2021. Main article. 2021 Israel-Palestine crisis. Israeli Air Force F-16s were heavily involved in the strikes against Hamas infrastructure and tactical units in Gaza during the 2021 Israel-Palestine crisis. 50-55. On the 13th of May 2021, an Israeli F-16 shot down a Hamas-operated Shahab suicide drone with a Python 5 air-to-air missile. 56-57. Egypt. On the 16th of February 2015, Egyptian F-16s performed air strikes on jihadi weapons caches and training camps in Libya in response to the murders of 21 Egyptian workers by masked militants affiliated with the Islamic State ISIL. The air strikes killed 64 ISIS fighters, including 3 leaders in Derna and Sirte on the coast. 58. To Netherlands, Yugoslavia 199 for 1995. 1999. F-16s were employed by NATO during Bosnian peacekeeping operations in 1994-95 in ground attack missions and enforcing the no-fly zone over Bosnia Operation Deny Flight. NATO F-16s also participated in airstrikes against Serbian forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina during Operation Deliberate Force in August-September 1995, and again in Operation Allied Force over Yugoslavia from March-June 1999. During Allied Force, Dutch F-16 J063 flown by Major Peter Tankink shot down one Yugoslavian MiG-29 with an MROM, flown by LT Colonel Predrag Milutinovic Kalsine Grof. He ejected safely, 5960. This marked the first air-to-air kill made by a Dutch fighter since WW2-61. Operations in Afghanistan 20114. Main article: War in Afghanistan 20114. An F-16 of the Royal Netherlands Air Force over Afghanistan. After April 2005, 8 Royal Netherlands Air Force F-16s, joined by 4 Royal Norwegian Air Force F-16s in February 2006, supported International Security Assistance Force ground troops the southern provinces of Afghanistan. The detachment is known as the 1st Netherlands-Norwegian European Participating Forces Expeditionary Air Wing 1 NLD, Norway W62. On the 31st of August 2006, a Royal Netherlands Air Force F-16AM crashed in Ghazni province and the pilot, Capt. Michael Donkervoort, was killed, 63. No cause was determined, but the investigation referenced the fact that a camel spider and other creatures had recently been found in the cockpits of Dutch aircraft in Afghanistan, 60 for 65. Libya 2011, 6 Dutch F-16s operating from Italian base in the framework of Operation Odyssey Dawn. Iraq and Syria, 2014-2016. 6 F-16s and to reserve from the RNLAF are participating in the Allied bombing actions against ISIL in Iraq, and since early 2016 also participate in raids in Syria, 66. The Netherlands Air Defense. Multiple times a year Dutch F-16s tasked with the defense of Dutch airspace, as well as international airspace under Dutch protection intercept Russian Tu-95 NATO name, Bear bombers. They will be intercepted and escorted out of Dutch-controlled airspace, 67-68. Belgium, Balkans. Just before the Kosovo War started in March 1999, the first MLU aircraft were sent over to Italy. During that war, 12 F-16s of 349 SQN dropped Lev GBU-1 to weapons. At that time the fighters were based at Amendola AFB in the south of Italy. After the conflict the number of F-16s decreased until the last F-16 returned home in 2001. Libya 2011. 6 Belgian F-16 participated in missions in Libya in order to enforce the no-fly zone, Afghanistan. From July 2005 to January 2006 for Belgian F-16s formed a DATF agreement unit with for Dutch F-16s in Afghanistan. From 2008 onwards Belgian Air Force provided flights of 4 to 6 F-16s, Iraq and Syria. From October 2014 to June 2021. Various periods, alternating with the Dutch Air Force. For F-16s are participating in the Allied bombing actions against ISIL in Iraq and in raids in Syria. Operation Inherent Resolve. The F-16 are based in Jordan. Baltic states, Baltic Air Policing. For F-16 for 4 months 8 periods between 2004 and 2022. Denmark, Kosovo 1999-2000. Main article, 1999 NATO bombing of Yugoslavia. 6 Danish F-16s, later extended to 9, flew air defense and escort missions over Kosovo along with the Norwegian Air Force F-16s. During the final phases of the campaign, the fighters also took part in several offensive missions targeting Yugoslav radar installations, fuel depots and command centers. 69. Afghanistan 201-203. Main article, War in Afghanistan 201 present. 6 Danish F-16s flew 743 missions over Afghanistan from Manas Air Base in Kyrgyzstan during Operation Enduring Freedom. As part of the European Participating Air Forces group along with Norway and the Netherlands, the missions included several weapon deliveries against various Taliban and Al-Qaeda targets. 69. Libya 2011, 6 Danish F-16 fighters performed high-risk missions over Libya in order to enforce the no-fly zone. Citation needed 70. Norway. The F-16 is no longer in operational service in the Norwegian Air Force. It has been replaced by the F-35. Bosnia 1993 to 1995. Norwegian F-16s took part in Operation Deny Flight. Kosovo 1999. 6 Norwegian F-16s were sent to Grazzani's Air Base in Italy to participate in Operation Allied Force for Combat Air Patrol. 71. Afghanistan. Enduring Freedom. In October 2002, a trinational force of 18 Norwegian, Danish, and Dutch F-16 fighter bombers, with 1 Dutch Air Force KC-108 tanker, flew to the Manas Air Base in Kyrgyzstan to support the NATO ground forces in Afghanistan as a part of the Operation Enduring Freedom. One of the missions was Operation Desert Lion. 72. 2019 Pakistan-India standoff. Main articles: 2019 India-Pakistan standoff and Operation Swift Retort. On the 27th of February 2019, Pakistan Air Force officials stated that they had shot down 2 Indian Air Force aircraft, 1 MiG-21 and 1 Su-30MK, after they intruded into the Pakistani airspace. 81 Indian officials initially denied that any of Indian Air Force IAF jets were shot down. They also claimed that all IAF pilots were accounted for and denied that any IAF pilot was captured by the Pakistani security forces. 82-83. However, later on, Indian officials acknowledged that 1 IAF MiG-21 was shot down and its pilot was captured by Pakistani security forces. They, however, rejected shooting down of Su-30MK is by PAF jets and also claimed to have shot down 1 PAF F-16 jet. 84-85-86-87. However, Pakistani officials rejected Indian claims of shooting down of 1 F-16 belonging to Pakistan Air Force. Pakistani officials stated that in this day and age it is impossible to hide downing of an aircraft. 88 Initially, Pakistani officials also claimed to have captured 2 Indian Air Force pilots, but later corrected their statement and stated that only 1 IAF pilot was in their custody. 89 Pakistani officials stated that it was the fog of war which led them to believe that there were 2 IAF pilots in their custody. 90 Pakistan also denied the use of F-16s in the operation, stating that JF-17s were used instead. 91-90 to the Indian Air Force presented a part of an AIM-120 ROM to prove the use of F-16s by Pakistan Air Force in the operation. 93 Indian media also attempted to show proof of shooting down of F-16 by displaying pictures of wreckage of IAF MiG-21 which was shot down in Pakistan on the 27th of February and claiming that it was the wreckage of F-16. However, this was rebutted by Bellingcat, an open-source UK-based investigative journalism network, which confirmed it as the wreckage of a MiG-21. 94. According to Foreign Policy magazine, U.S. officials with direct knowledge of the matter asserted that the U.S. has recently completed a physical count of Pakistan's F-16s and has found none missing. 95. The Indian newspaper Hindustan Times reported that United States Department of Defense spokesman stated that he was not aware of any such investigation that was conducted and stated as a matter of policy. The department does not publicly comment on details, government-to-government agreements on end-use monitoring of U.S. origin defense articles. 96. However, Washington Post reported that, like Pentagon, the State Department has not issued a public statement on the F-16 count. However, there have been no counterleaks contradicting the report published by the Foreign Policy. 97. Local people on the ground have also rejected Indian claims of shooting down a PAF F-16. 98-99. On the 8th of April 2019, the IAF released radar images of aerial engagement to reassert its claims of downing an F-16 100-101. However, Pakistani officials rejected the radar images released by India. 100 to the only confirmed loss from the engagement was the MiG-21. 101-103. Turkey. The Turkish Air Force acquired its first F-16s in 1987. 196 F-16C and 40 for F-160 fighters were in service with the Turkish Air Force as of January 2012. 100 for Turkish F-16s also participated in the 2006 Baltic Aviation Police mission. In 2006, NATO operations over Bosnia and Kosovo, Turkish Air Force F-16 units participated in the Bosnia-Herzegovina and Kosovo by deploying one of its squadrons to Getty Air Base, Italy from 1993 and to Aviano Air Base from May 2000 in support of United Nations resolutions. The units completed 35,647 flight hours and 10,626 sorties without incident. 105. Aegean dispute with Greece. See also Greco-Turkish relations and Aegean dispute. On the 8th of October 1996, 7 months after the escalation over Imia, Karduk, during an air-to-air confrontation over the Aegean Sea in the Athens Fur, a Greek Mirage 2000 fired an R-550 Magic missile and shot down a Turkish F-16. The Greek government claimed that the Turkish aircraft had violated Greek airspace. However, the Turkish government claimed that it had been on a training mission north of the Greek island of Samos, close to the Turkish mainland. The Turkish pilot died, while the co-pilot ejected and was rescued by Greek forces. 106-107. Although the Turkish government has admitted the loss, the Greek government officially denies that the shoot-down occurred. 108. The loss was confirmed in 2012, after the downing of ARF-4E on the Syrian coast. In response to a parliamentary question, Turkish Defense Minister İsmet Yılmaz stated that Turkish F-16D Block 40S and 9100-3 of 190 Tefilo was shot down by a Greek Mirage 2000 with the R.550 Magic 2 missile on the 8th of October 1996 after violating Greek airspace near Chios Island. 109. On the 23rd of May 2006, two Greek F-16 Block 52 jets were scrambled to intercept a Turkish RF-4 reconnaissance aircraft and its two F-16 escorts off the coast of the Greek island of Karpathos, within the Athens Fur. A mock dogfight ensued between the two sides' F-16s, which ended in a mid-air collision between a Turkish F-16 and a Greek F-16. The Turkish pilot ejected safely after his jet was destroyed, but the Greek pilot died when his canopy and cockpit were destroyed during the collision. 110. Turkish raids over northern Iraq. See also 2008 Turkish incursion into northern Iraq. Turkey's F-16s were extensively used in the nation's ongoing conflict with Kurdish rebels in southeastern Turkey and northern Iraq, most notably during winter bombing campaign of 2008 Turkish incursion into northern Iraq, where Turkey launched its first cross-border raid on the 16th of December 2007, involving 50 fighters, for Operation Sun. This was the first time a night bombing operation on a massive scale, also the largest operation conducted by Turkish Air Force. 111. Syrian Civil War. See also Turkish involvement in the Syrian Civil War and Syrian-Turkish border clashes during the Syrian Civil War. During the Syrian Civil War, Turkish F-16s were tasked with airspace protection on the Syrian border. After the RF-4 downing in June 2012, Turkey changed its rules of engagements against Syrian aircraft, resulting in scrambles and downings of Syrian combat aircraft. 112. On the 16th of September 2013, a Turkish Air Force F-16 shot down a Syrian Mi-17 helicopter that had violated Turkish airspace over Hatay province with an AIM-9X Sidewinder missile. The helicopter crashed on the Syrian side of the border. Part of the crew could bail out from the crippled helicopter, but were killed when they reached the ground and were captured by Syrian rebels. 113, 114, 115. On the 23rd of March 2014, two TUAF F-16s from Diyarbakir were scrambled to intercept a pair of Syrian MiG-23s that were approaching the Turkish airspace while operating against rebel positions. After repeated warnings, one of the Syrian MiGs changed course, while the other MiG strayed into the Turkish airspace for about 2 kilometers. Hence, one of the Vipers downed the MiG with an AIM-120 Emran near the border towns of Kasab and Yeladak. The Syrian pilot ejected landing on the Syrian side of the border and was rescued. Also, the crippled jet crashed on the Syrian side. 116, 117, 118, 119, 120. On August 29, 2015, Turkish F-16s launched a massive-scale bombardment campaign in response to the Suruç terrorist attacks that killed 30 civilians in the small border town. As a result, F-16 struck dozens of terrorist storage depots, stations, convoys and faux presence, as well as pushing the majority of ISIS's militia structure back from Turkey's borders. 121-122. On the 16th of May 2015, A Turkish Air Force F-16 shot down an Iranian-made Mohajer for UAV that had violated Turkish airspace over Hatay province, entering 11 kilometers into Turkish airspace. The UAV was downed with 2 AN-9 Sidewinder missiles. Initial claims by the Turkish government mentioned an intruding helicopter was shot down, but later it was admitted that the downed aircraft was an UAV as claimed by the Syrian Su-123-124. On October 6, 2015, Turkish Air Force F-16s on combat air patrol near the Syrian border cap intercepted a series of Russian Air Force Su-30 that ventured into Turkish airspace over Hatay and further east over near Gaziantep. The simultaneous intruders reportedly turned back after warnings. However, some reports and an unofficial leaked Turkish Air Force statement suggest that it was shot down. Other reports suggest the downing near the Hatay province might have been a Syrian-owned MiG-29. Russia claims it isn't aware of any such incident over Gaziantep shore, says that Hatay violation was caused by a combination of bad weather and defensive maneuvers against SAM systems that only lasted a few seconds. However, Turkish military radar tracked the warplane in its airspace for 5 minutes, and missile systems inside Syria were locked on Turkish jets for over 4 minutes. 125. On October 16, 2015, a Turkish Air Force F-16 shot down a Russian-made Orlan 10 unmanned drone 3 kilometers into Hatay airspace. The US and Turkey claim the UAV belongs to the Russian military. However, Russia denied such incident, later acknowledging it but denying ownership. 126. On November 24, 2015, the Turkish Air Force F-16 shot down a Russian Su-24, claiming that it violated Turkish airspace, but Russia rejected Turkey's claim. 127. During an escalation between Syria and Turkey at the beginning of March 2020, the two countries confronted each other in open war, leading to a surge in air combat kills on the hand of Turkish F-16s against Syrian jets. On the 1st of March 2020, the Syrian Su-24 strike bombers were shot down by Turkish Air Force F-16s using air-to-air missiles over Syrian Idlib province. 128. All 4 pilots safely ejected. Both Syrian and Turkish forces confirmed the downing. 129. On the 3rd of March 2020, a Syrian Arab Army Air Force L-39 combat trainer was shot down by a Turkish Air Force F-16 over Syrian Idlib province. Both Syrian and Turkish forces confirmed the downing. 130. The pilot died. 131. Between May 2009 and November 2011, the PAF F-16 fleet flew more than 5,500 sorties, each update, in support of the Pakistan Army's operations against the Taliban insurgency in the Fata region of northwest Pakistan. More than 80% of the dropped munitions were laser-guided bombs. 130 to 133. On the 27th of February 2019, following 6 Pakistan Air Force airstrikes in Jammu and Kashmir, India, Pakistani officials said that 2 of its fighter jets shot down 1 MiG-21 and 1 Su-30 belonging to the Indian Air Force. 130 for 135, 136, 137 Indian officials only confirmed the loss of 1 MiG-21, but denied losing any Su-30 in the clash and claimed the Pakistani claims as dubious. 138, 139 additionally Indian officials also claimed to have shot down 1 F-16 belonging to the Pakistan Air Force. 104. This was denied by the Pakistani side. 140 to considered dubious by neutral sources. 143, 144 and later backed by a report by Foreign Policy magazine, reporting that the US had completed a physical count of Pakistan's F-16s and found none missing. 145. A report by the Washington Post noted that the Pentagon and State Department refused public comment on the matter, but did not deny the earlier report. 146. On the 8th of May 2025, Indian media reported that a PAF F-16 was shot down. 147, which was not claimed by Indian authorities. 148, and subsequently refuted by Pakistan. 149, Turkey, F-16. Solid aerial aerobatic aircraft. The Turkish Air Force acquired its first F-16s in 1987. F-16s were later produced in Turkey under 4 phases of P-Sonics programs. In 2015, they were upgraded to Block 50-50 seconds plus with CCIP by Turkish Aerospace Industries. 150. Turkish F-16s are being fitted with indigenous AESA radars and a suite called SPUZ-151. On the 18th of June 1992, a Greek Mirage F-1 crashed during a dogfight with a Turkish F-16, 150-153-154. On the 8th of February 1995, a Turkish F-16 crashed into the Aegean Sea after being intercepted by Greek Mirage F-1 fighters, 155-156. Turkish F-16s have participated in Bosnia-Herzegovina and Kosovo since 1993 in support of United Nations Resolutions 157. On the 8th of October 1996, 7 months after the escalation, the Greek Mirage 2000 reportedly fired an R-550 Magic II missile and shot down a Turkish F-16D over the Aegean Sea. 158. The Turkish pilot died, while the co-pilot ejected and was rescued by Greek forces. 150 for 160-161. In August 2012, after the downing of an RF-4E on the Syrian coast, Turkish Defense Minister İsmet Yılmaz confirmed that the Turkish F-16D was shot down by a Greek Mirage 2000 with an R-550 Magic II in 1996 near Chios Island. 162. Greece denies that the F-16 was shot down. 163. Both Mirage 2000 pilots reported that the F-16 caught fire and they saw one parachute. 160 for 165. On the 23rd of May 2006, two Greek F-16s intercepted a Turkish RF for reconnaissance aircraft and two F-16 escorts off the coast of the Greek island of Karpathos, within the Athens Spur. A mock dogfight ensued between the two sides, resulting in a mid-air collision 166 between a Turkish F-16 and a Greek F-16. The Turkish pilot ejected safely, but the Greek pilot died owing to damage caused by the collision. 167-168. Turkey used its F-16s extensively. Its conflict with Kurdish insurgents in southeastern parts of Turkey and Iraq. Turkey launched its first cross-border raid on the 16th of December 2007, a prelude to the 2008 Turkish incursion into northern Iraq, involving 50 fighters, before Operation Sun. This was the first time Turkey had mounted a night bombing operation on a massive scale, and also the largest operation conducted by the Turkish Air Force. 169. During the Syrian civil war, Turkish F-16s were tasked with airspace protection on the Syrian border. After the RF downing in June 2012, Turkey changed its rules of engagement against Syrian aircraft, resulting in scrambles and downings of Syrian combat aircraft. 170. On the 16th of September 2013, a Turkish Air Force F-16 shot down a Syrian Arab Air Force Mi-17 helicopter near the Turkish border. 171. On the 23rd of March 2014, a Turkish Air Force F-16 shot down a Syrian Arab Air Force MiG-23 when it allegedly entered Turkish airspace during a ground attack mission against Al-Qaeda-linked insurgents. 172. On the 16th of May 2015, two Turkish Air Force F-16s shot down a Syrian Mohajer for UAV firing two AN-9 missiles after it trespassed into Turkish airspace for 5 minutes. 173-170 for a Turkish Air Force F-16 shot down a Russian Air Force Sukhoi Su-24 on the Turkey-Syria border on the 24th of November 2015. 175. On the 1st of March 2020, two Syrian Sukhoi Su-24s were shot down by Turkish Air Force F-16s using air-to-air missiles over Syria's Idlib Governorate. 176. All four pilots safely ejected. 177. On the 3rd of March 2020, a Syrian Arab Army Air Force L-39 combat trainer was shot down by a Turkish F-16 over Syria's Idlib province. 178. The pilot died. 179. As a part of Turkish F-16 modernization program, new air-to-air missiles are being developed and tested for the aircraft. KTUK program led by Tubadak Sage has presented two types of air-to-air missiles aimed as Bozdogan Merlin and Gökdogan Peregrine. While Bozdogan has been categorized as a within visual range air-to-air missile WVRAAM, Gökdogan is a beyond visual range air-to-air missile BVRAAM. On the 14th of April 2021, first live test exercise of Bozdogan have successfully completed and the first batch of missiles are expected to be delivered throughout the same year to the Turkish Air Force. 180-181. Egypt, and F-16C of the Egyptian Air Force in 2022. On the 16th of February 2015, Egyptian F-16 struck weapons caches and training camps of the Islamic State, ISIS, in Libya, in retaliation for the murder of 21 Egyptian Coptic Christian construction workers by masked militants affiliated with ISIS. The airstrikes killed 64 ISIS fighters, including 3 leaders in Derna and Sirte on the coast. 182. Europe. See also. General Dynamics F-16. Fighting Falcon operators, the Royal Netherlands Air Force, Belgian Air Component, Royal Danish Air Force and Royal Norwegian Air Force all fly the F-16. 183. All F-16s in most European air forces are equipped with drag chutes specifically to allow them to operate from automobile highways. 184. A Yugoslavian MiG-29 was shot down by a Dutch F-16A during the Kosovo War in 1999. 185. Belgian and Danish F-16s also participated in joint operations over Kosovo during the war. 185. Dutch, Belgian, Danish, and Norwegian F-16s were deployed during the 2011 intervention in Libya and in Afghanistan. 186. In Libya, Norwegian F-16s dropped almost 550 bombs and flew 596 missions. 187. Some 17% of the total strike missions. 188. Including the bombing of Muammar Gaddafi's headquarters. 189. In late March 2018, Croatia announced its intention to purchase 12 used Israeli F-16E D Barak Brake jets, pending U.S. approval. 190. Acquiring these F-16s would allow Croatia to retire its aging MiG-21s. 191. In January 2019, the deal was cancelled because U.S. would only allow the resale if Israel stripped the planes of all the modernized electronics, while Croatia insisted on the original deal with all the upgrades installed. 192. At the end of November 2021, Croatia signed with France instead, for 12 Rafales. 193. On the 11th of July 2018, Slovakia's government approved the purchase of 14 F-16 Block 70-72s to replace its aging fleet of Soviet-made MiG-29s. 190. For a contract was signed on the 12th of December 2018 in Bratislava. 195. Ukrainian Air Force F-16s. In May 2023, an international coalition consisting of the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Belgium and Denmark announced their intention to train Ukrainian Air Force pilots on the F-16 ahead of possible future deliveries to increase the Ukrainian Air Force capabilities in the current Russo-Ukrainian war. The US confirmed that it would approve the re-export from these countries to Ukraine. 196. Denmark has agreed to help train Ukrainians on their usage of the fighter. Denmark's acting defense minister Troels Lund Poulsen said that Denmark will now be able to move forward for a collective contribution to train Ukrainian pilots to fly F-16s. 197. On the 6th of July 2023, Romania announced that it will host the Future Training Center after the meeting of the Supreme Council of National Defense. 198. During the 2023 Vilnius Summit, a coalition was formed consisting of Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, Canada, Luxembourg, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and Ukraine. 199. A number of Ukrainian pilots began training in Denmark and the US 200-201. The European F-16 Training Center, organized by Romania, the Netherlands, and Lockheed Martin through several subcontractors, officially opened on the 13th of November 2023. It is located at the Romanian Air Force's 86th Air Base, 202, and Ukrainian pilots began training there in September 2024. 203. On the 17th of August 2023, the U.S. approved the transfer of F-16s from the Netherlands and Denmark to Ukraine after the Ukrainian pilots have completed their training. 204. The Netherlands and Denmark have announced that together they will donate up to 61 F-16AM BM Block 15 MLU fighters to Ukraine once pilot training has been completed. 205-206. On the 13th of May 2024, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said that F-16 from Denmark will be in the air over Ukraine within months. Denmark is sending 19 F-16s in total. 207. By the end of July 2024, the first F-16s were delivered to Ukraine. 208. On the 4th of August 2024, President Zelensky announced to the public that the F-16 was now in operational service with Ukraine. Zelensky stated at an opening ceremony that F-16s are in Ukraine. We did it. I am proud of our guys who are mastering these jets and have already started using them for our country. 209. On the 26th of August 2024, F-16s were reportedly used to intercept Russian cruise missiles for the first time. 210. Also on the 26th of August, a Ukrainian F-16 crashed and the pilot, Alexei Mies, was killed while intercepting Russian aerial targets during the cruise missile strikes. The cause is under investigation. 211. On the 13th of December 2024, the Ukrainian Air Force claimed an F-16 shot down 6 Russian cruise missiles. 2 were shot down with medium-range missiles, another 2 with short-range missiles, and 2 were claimed to be downed by the 20mm cannon. 212. Combat losses. Ukraine has confirmed a loss of 3 F-16 fighters as of May 2025. 213. On the 30th of August 2024, the commander of the Ukrainian Air Force, Mykola Oleshuk, was dismissed by President Zelensky and replaced by Lieutenant General Anatoly Krivanoshko. 214, which was partially attributed to indications that the F-16 that crashed on the 26th of August was shot down in a friendly fire incident. Ukrainian parliamentarian Marietta, Azul and Oleshuk had previously argued over the cause of the F-16 loss. 215-216. On the 12th of April 2025, Ukraine stated pilot Pavla Ivanov was killed in action flying an F-16. 217-218. BBC Ukraine reported that Russia had fired 3 missiles at the F-16, which was probably flying over the Sumy region, including S-400 ground-to-air and R-37 air-to-air missiles. 219. On the 16th of May 2025, Ukraine stated that a third F-16 was lost in air combat at around 3:30 a.m. during a combat mission where an emergency developed on board due to a technical malfunction. 220. The pilot was stated to have steered the aircraft from populated areas before ejecting and was rescued in a stable condition. 221. Others. Iraqi Air Force F-16C. Venezuela Air Force have flown the F-16 on combat missions. 183. During the November 1992 Venezuelan coup attempt, 2 F-16A belonging to the government loyalist managed to shoot down 2 V-10 Bronco in an AT-27 Tucano flown by the rebels and establishing aerial superiority for the government forces. 222. 2 F-16B of the Indonesian Air Force intercepted and engaged several U.S. Navy F-18 Hornets over the Java Sea in the 2003 Balween incident. 223. The Royal Moroccan Air Force and the Royal Bahraini Air Force each lost a single F-16C, both shot down by Houthi anti-aircraft fired during the Saudi Arabian-led intervention in Yemen, respectively on the 11th of May 2015 and on the 30th of December 2015. 224. On the 11th of October 2023, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Regional Security Mayra Resna confirmed to Jorge Arguello, Argentinian ambassador to the U.S., that the State Department has approved the transfer of 38 F-16s from Denmark. 225. On the 16th of April 2024, it was announced by Defense Minister Louise Petra that the country went through with the purchase of 20 Danish F-16s that are to be brought up to date before they are sent to Argentina. 226. The 25th plane, an F-16B MLU Block 10, meant for mechanics training, came disassembled in an Argentinian C-130 in late December 2024. 227 6 F-16s a year are to be delivered from Denmark to Argentina until all are delivered, with the first batch expected around November 2025. 226. In 2019, the U.S. State Department approved the possible sale of 8 F-16 Block 70s to Bulgaria. 228. And the deal was approved by the Bulgarian Parliament and President Rumen Radev. 229. In November 2022, the purchase of a further 8 F-16 Block 70 fighters, spares, weapons and other systems was approved for delivery in 2027. 230. The Bulgarian Air Force expects delivery of the first 8 new F-16 Block 70s by 2025 and the second batch of 8 F-16 Block 70s is expected in 2027. 231. In 2024, Argentina selected a bid for 24 F-16 BN aircraft from Denmark instead of one from F-17s from China, Pakistan. 232. The first aircraft, a F-16B, was unveiled in Buenos Aires on the 24th of February 2025. 233. Potential operators, Philippines. In 2021, the Defense Security Cooperation Agency approved the Philippines' purchase of 12 F-16s worth an estimated $2.43 billion United States dollars. However, the Philippines has yet to complete this deal due to financial constraints with negotiations ongoing. 230 for 235. In April 2025, the possible sale of 20 F-16s were approved, upgrading the previous approval made by DSCA. 236-237. It was reported in May 2025 that Lockheed Martin was interested in developing a facility similar to the Center for Innovation and Security Solutions in Abu Dhabi, depending on the success of the F-16s being sold. 238. Vietnam. In 2025, multiple news channels reported that Vietnam is finalizing an agreement to purchase at least 20 for F-16s, possibly the F-16B variant. 239-240. Civilian operators, top bases. In January 2021, Canadian defense contractor Top Bases announced that they had taken delivery of the first civilian-owned F-16s to their U.S. HQ in Mesa, Arizona. 241. In an approval process that had taken years, they had purchased a batch of 29 F-16A B-nets from the Israeli Air Force, including several that had taken part in Operation Mopera. A year later, the first of these aircraft had finished the extensive AAMS mission system upgrades including AESA radar, HMCS, ECM, and tactical data link. In late 2022 they began regular operations flying as contracted aggressors for USAF F-22 and F-35 squadrons in Luke AFB and Eglin AFB, as well as supporting exercises in other USAF and USMC bases. 242. Variants. Main article, General Dynamics F-16. Fighting Falcon variants, a Republic of China Air Force F-16B landing at Hualien Air Force Base. Venezuelan Air Force F-16B, testing of the F-35 diverterless supersonic inlet on an F-16 testbed. The original intake with splitter plate is shown in the top image. F-16 models are denoted by increasing block numbers to denote upgrades. The blocks cover both single and two-seat versions. A variety of software, hardware, systems, weapons compatibility, and structural enhancements have been instituted over the years to gradually upgrade production models and retrofit delivered aircraft. Citation needed. While many F-16s were produced according to these block designs, there have been many other variants with significant changes, usually because of modification programs. Other changes have resulted in role specialization, such as the close air support and reconnaissance variants. Several models were also developed to test new technology. The F-16 design also inspired the design of other aircraft, which are considered derivatives. Older F-16s are being converted into F-16 drone targets. 243. F-16A, B. The F-16A single C and F-16D2C were initial production variants. These variants include the Block 1, 5, 10, 15, and 20 versions. Block 15 was the first major change to the F-16 with larger horizontal stabilizers. It is the most numerous of all F-16 variants with 983 produced. 244. Around 300 earlier USAF F-16A and B aircraft were upgraded to the Block 15 Midlife Update (MLU) standard, getting analogous capability to F-16C, D Block 50-50 seconds aircraft. 245-246 from 1987, a total of 214 Block 15 aircraft were upgraded to OCU Operational Capability Upgrade Standard, with engines, structural and electronic improvements. And from 1988 all Block 15 were directly billed to OCU specifications. 240 for between 1989 and 1990 to a total of 271 Block 15 OCU. Airframes 246 F-16A and 25 F-16B were converted at the Ogden Air Logistics Center to the ADF Air Defense Fighter variant. With improved IFF system, radio and radar, the ability to carry advanced beyond visual range missiles, and the addition of a side-mounted 150,000 candle power spotlight for visual night identification of intruders. Originally intended for Cold War air defense of the continental U.S. airspace, with the fall of the Berlin Wall the ADF lost a clear mission, and most were mothballed starting from 1994. Some mothballed ADFs were later exported to Jordan 12A and 4B models and Thailand 15A and 1B, while 30A and 4B models were leased to Italy from 2003 to 2012 to 147 to 148. An F-160 assigned to the 416th Flight Test Squadron, 412th Test Wing, Air Force Test Center, flies over the Mojave Desert near Edwards AFB, California. F-16D. The F-16A single-seat and F-16B two-seat were initial production variants. These variants include the Block 1, 5, 10, 15, and 20 versions. Block 15 was the first major change to the F-16 with larger horizontal stabilizers. It is the most numerous of all F-16 variants with 983 produced. 244. Around 300 earlier USAF F-16A and B aircraft were upgraded to the Block 15 Midlife Update (MLU) standard, getting analogous capability to F-16D Block 50/50 seconds aircraft. 246 from 1987, and a total of 214 Block 15 aircraft were upgraded to OCU operational capability upgrade standard, with engines, structural and electronic improvements, and from 1988 all Block 15 were directly built to OCU specifications, 240 for between 1989 and 1990 to a total of 271 Block 15 OCU. Airframes 246 F-16A and 25 F-16B were converted at the Ogden Air Logistics Center to the ADF Air Defense Fighter variant, with improved IFF system, radio and radar, the ability to carry advanced beyond visual range missiles, and the addition of a side-mounted 150,000 candle power spotlight for visual night identification of intruders. Originally intended for Cold War air defense of the continental U.S. airspace, with the fall of the Berlin Wall the ADF lost a clear mission, and most were mothballed starting from 1994. Some mothballed ADFs were later exported to Jordan 12A and 4B models and Thailand 15A and 1B, while 30A and 4B models were leased to Italy from 2003 to 2012 to 147 to 148. An F-160 assigned to the 416th Flight Test Squadron, 412th Test Wing, Air Force Test Center, flies over the Mojave Desert near Edwards AFB, California. F-160D. F-160 Block 50 meters of the Chilean Air Force. The F-160 single-seat and F-160 two-seat variants entered production. The first C/D version was the Block 25 with improved cockpit, avionics and radar, which added all-weather capability with beyond visual range BVR-AIM-7 and AIM-120 air-air missiles. Block 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and 50 seconds were later C/D versions. The F-160D had a unit cost of $18.8 million United States dollars 1998, 67. Operational cost per flight hour has been estimated at $7,000 to $150 to $22,000 for $170 to $151 or $24,000, depending on the calculation method, 250 to unreliable source. United Arab Emirates Air Force F-160 Block 60 with the IFTS pod, CFTs, and various external armament taking off, F-16F. The F-160 single-seat and F-16F two-seat are newer F-16 Block 60 variants based on the F-160D Block. The United Arab Emirates invested heavily in their development. They feature improved APG-8O active electronically scanned array AESA radar, infrared search and track KIRST, avionics, conformal fuel tank CFTs, and the more powerful General Electric F110G132 engine, 250 for 255 and 1. F-16IN, for the Indian MRCA competition for the Indian Air Force, Lockheed Martin offered the F-16IN Super Viper, 258. The F-16IN is based on the F-16E, F Block 60 and features conformal fuel tanks, an APG-80 AESA radar, GF110G132A engine with FATIC controls, Electronic Warfare Suite, and Infrared Search and Track (IRST) unit. Updated glass cockpit, and a helmet-mounted cueing system. As of 2011, the F-16IN is no longer in the competition. 260 unreliable source. In 2016, Lockheed Martin offered the new F-16 Block 70/72 version to India under the Making India program. 262. In 2016, the Indian government offered to purchase 200, potentially up to 300 fighters in a deal worth $13.15 billion. 263. As of 2017, Lockheed Martin has agreed to manufacture F-16 Block 70 fighters in India with the Indian defense firm Tata Advanced Systems Limited. The new production line could be used to build F-16s for India and for exports. 264. F-16IQ. In September 2010, the Defense Security Cooperation Agency informed the United States Congress of a possible foreign military sale of 18 F-16IQ aircraft along with the associated equipment and services to the newly reformed Iraqi Air Force. The total value of sale was estimated at $4.2 billion United States dollars. 265. The Iraqi Air Force purchased those 18 jets in the second half of 2011, then later exercised an option to purchase 18 more for a total of 36 F-16IQs. 266. As of 2021, the Iraqi had lost to in accidents. 267. By 2023, the U.S. government reported that these jets were Iraq's most capable airborne platforms, with a 66% mission-capable rate. Their maintenance was being supported by private contractors. At the same time, Iraq's Russian-made systems were suffering from sanctions imposed in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. 268. F-16. The F-16 was an adversary aircraft operated by the United States Navy. It is based on the standard F-16C, D Block 30, is powered by the General Electric F-110G10 engine, and is capable of supercruise. 269. The F-16 has a strengthened wing and is capable of carrying an air combat maneuvering instrumentation, ACMI pod on the starboard wingtip. Although the single-seat F-16NS and twin-seat F-16NS are based on the early production small inlet Block 30 F-16E D airframe, they retain the APG-66 radar of the F-16A. B. In addition, the aircraft's 20mm cannon has been removed, as has the airborne self-protection jammer SPJ, and they carry no missiles. Their EW fit consists of an ALR-69 radar warning receiver RWR and an ALE-40 chaff flare dispenser. The F-16NS and TF-16NS have the standard Air Force tailhook and undercarriage and are not aircraft carrier capable. Production totaled 26 airframes, of which 22 are single-seat F-16NS and 4 are twin-seat F-16NS. The initial batch of aircraft was in service between 1988 and 1998. At that time, hairline cracks were discovered in several bulkheads, and the Navy did not have the resources to replace them, so the aircraft were eventually retired, with one aircraft sent to the collection of the National Naval Aviation Museum at NAS Pensacola, Florida, and the remainder placed in storage, Davis Monthan AFB. These aircraft were later replaced by embargo ex-Pakistani F-16s in 2003. The original inventory of F-16NS was previously operated by adversary squadrons at NAS Oceano, Virginia, NAS Key West, Florida, and the former NAS Miramar, California. The current F-16A B aircraft are operated by the Naval Strike and Air Warfare Center at NAS Fallon, Nevada. 270, 271, 272. F-16V. At the 2012 Singapore Air Show, Lockheed Martin unveiled plans for the new F-16V variant with the V suffix. It features an APG-83 active electronically scanned array ESA radar, a new mission computer and electronic warfare suite, an automated ground collision avoidance system, and various cockpit improvements. This package is an option on current production F-16s and can be retrofitted to most in-service F-16s. 273-274. First flight took place the 21st of October 2015. 275 Taiwanese media reported that Taiwan and the U.S. both initially invested in the development of the F-16V. 276 upgrades to Taiwan's F-16 fleet began in January 2017. 277. The first country to confirm the purchase of 16 new F-16 Block 70 seconds was Bahrain. 278. 279. Greece announced the upgrade of 80 for F-16E, D Block 50 to plus and Block 50 to plus advanced Block 5 to M to the latest B Block 70 seconds variant in October 2017. 280. Slovakia announced on the 11th of July 2018 that it intends to purchase 14 F-16 Block 70 seconds aircraft. 280 to 283. Lockheed Martin has redesignated the F-16 Block 70 as the F-21 in its offering for India's fighter requirement. 280. For Taiwan's Republic of China Air Force announced on the 19th of March 2019 that it formally requested the purchase of an additional 66 F-16B fighters. 285. The Trump administration approved the sale on the 20th of August 2019. 286. 287. On the 14th of August 2020, Lockheed Martin was awarded a $62 billion United States contract by the U.S. $288 that includes 66 new F-16s at $8 billion United States $9.28 billion in 2023 for Taiwan. 289. USAF QF-16A on its first unmanned test flight over the Gulf of Mexico. QF-16. In September 2013, Boeing and the U.S. Air Force tested an unmanned F-16, with two U.S. Air Force pilots controlling the airplane from the ground as it flew from Tyndall AFB. The F-16 has been involved in over 670 hull loss accidents as of January 2020. 306. 307. On the 8th of May 1975, while practicing a 9G aerial display maneuver with the second YF-16 tail number 7-1568 at Fort Worth, Texas, prior to being sent to the Paris Air Show, one of the main landing gears jammed. The test pilot, Neil Anderson, had to perform an emergency gear-up landing and chose to do so in the grass, hoping to minimize damage and avoid injuring any observers. The aircraft was only slightly damaged, but because of the mishap, the first prototype was sent to the Paris Air Show in its place. 308. On the 15th of November 1982, while on a training flight outside Kunsan Air Base in South Korea, USAF Captain Ted Harduvel died when he crashed inverted into a mountain ridge. In 1985, Harduvel's widow filed a lawsuit against General Dynamics claiming an electrical malfunction, not pilot error, as the cause. A jury awarded the plaintiff $3.4 million in damages. However, in 1989, the U.S. Court of Appeals ruled the contractor had immunity to lawsuits, overturning the previous judgment. The court remanded the case to the trial court for entry of judgment in favor of General Dynamics. 309. The accident and subsequent trial was the subject of the 1990 film Afterburn. 310. 311. On the 23rd of March 1994, during a joint Army Air Force exercise at Poe, AFB, North Carolina, F-16 DAF serial No. 88017, one of the 2-3D fighter wing 74th Fighter Squadron was simulating an engine-out approach when it collided with the U.S. FC-130E. Both F-16 crew members ejected, but their aircraft, on full afterburner, continued on an arc towards Green Run and struck a U.S. FC-141 that was being boarded by U.S. Army paratroopers. This accident resulted in 24 fatalities and at least 100 others injured. 312. It has since been known as the Green Run disaster. 313. On the 15th of September 2003, a USAF Thunderbird's F-16C crashed during an air show at Mountain Home AFB, Idaho. Captain Christopher Strickland attempted a split-S maneuver based on an incorrect mean sea level altitude of the airfield, climbing to only 1,670 feet, 510 meters, above ground level instead of 2,500 feet, 760 meters. Strickland had insufficient altitude to complete the maneuver, but was able to guide the aircraft away from spectators and ejected less than 1 second before impact. Strickland survived with only minor injuries. The aircraft was destroyed. USAF procedure for demonstration split-S maneuvers was changed, requiring both pilots and controllers to use above-ground level AGL altitudes. 314. 315. On the 26th of January 2015, a Greek F-16D crashed while performing a NATO training exercise in Albacete, Spain. Both crew members and 9 French soldiers on the ground die when it crashed in the flight line, destroying or damaging 2 Italian ANXs, 2 French Alpha jets, and 1 French Mirage 2000. 317. Investigations suggested that the accident was due to an erroneous rudder setting that was caused by loose papers in the cockpit. 318. On the 7th of July 2015, an F-16CJ collided with a Cessna 150M over Moncks Corner, South Carolina, U.S. The pilot of the F-16 ejected safely, but both people in the Cessna were killed. 319. On the 11th of October 2018, an F-16MLU from the 2nd Tactical Wing of the Belgian Air Component, on the apron at Florence Air Station, was hit by a gun burst from a nearby F-16, whose cannon was fired inadvertently during maintenance. The aircraft caught fire and was burned to the ground, while 2 other F-16s were damaged. 10 maintenance personnel were treated for oral trauma. 320. On the 11th of March 2020, a Pakistani F-16AM serial No. 92,730 of the No. 9 Squadron Pakistan Air Force crashed in the Shikar-Periang area of Islamabad during rehearsals for the Pakistan Day Parade. The plane crashed when the F-16 was executing an aerobatic loop. As a result, the pilot of the F-16, Wing Commander Noman Akram, who was also the commanding officer of the No. 9 Squadron Griffins, lost his life. A board of inquiry ordered by the Pakistan Air Force later revealed that the pilot had every chance to eject, but opted not to and tried his best to save the aircraft and avoid civilian casualties on the ground. Videos taken by locals on the ground show his F-16AM crashing into some woods. He was hailed a hero by Pakistanis, while also gaining some attention internationally. 321. On the 6th of May 2023, a U.S. Air Force F-16C of the 8th Fighter Wing crashed in a field near Osan Air Base in South Korea during a daytime training sortie. The pilot safely ejected from the aircraft. 322. Importance. On the 8th of May 2024, an F-16C of the Republic of Singapore Air Force crashed during takeoff within Tengah Air Base. The pilot successfully ejected from the aircraft without major injuries. 323. The cause was later identified to be from the malfunction of 2 of the 3 primary pitch rate gyroscopes on the aircraft. This was noted to be a rare occurrence by Lockheed Martin due to the concurrent failure of the 2 independent pitch rate gyroscopes giving similar inputs, which caused the digital flight control computer to reject inputs from the correctly functioning pitch rate gyroscope and the backup pitch rate gyroscope when it was activated by the rejection of a primary pitch rate gyroscope. 324. Aircraft on display. Main article. List of displayed General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcons. As newer variants have entered service, many examples of older F-16 models have been preserved for display worldwide, particularly in Europe and the United States.